Okay, hello again. Welcome back to the fourth seminar of the day. And I hope everybody is refreshed already for our next inspiring seminar on cultivating change, the impact of young leaders in food sustainability. So I would like to invite our speakers and our moderator to the stage, please.
Distinguished guests and dear participants, good afternoon and welcome to our seminar. I have the great pleasure of moderating this conversation and find it very valuable, especially for our young people, students. Awareness on food sustainability and how can be the part of this movement. So today we gather to witness inspiring stories of young leaders transforming our global food systems. We are honored to host Megumi Watanabe, Yukosu.
Thank you so much.
And Yorit Kivik. They are representatives of Slow Food Youth Network, and they are the esteemed members of Slow Food Boards. They will be sharing valuable insights and examples from youth-driven initiatives, actually ranging from reducing food waste, reviving local seed varieties, to influencing policy making. First, I want to really sincerely thank to our guests for joining us today, but especially for dedicating their lives to cultivating a more just and sustainable food systems. Really, in a world increasingly shaped by climate change, industrial agriculture, and food insecurity, young voices are not only necessary, but they are leading to change. They are well prepared for you, and I want to thank for it too. They'll have a presentation, they'll give a brief information about themselves, how they are inspired for their journey to this moment. And thank you, please, you can start, Megumi or Yorit. They will be presenting together. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Megumi Watanabe from Japan. I am a president of Slow Food Nippon, a Japanese slow food association, as well as a member of Slow Food International Board. This session is, I'm personally very excited to talk with Yorit because we have a lot of things in common. We serve as international board together now, but we originally come from the Slow Food Youth Network that we are going to talk about in this seminar. Also, I am married into a farmer, a farming family that lasts more than 1,000 years in rural parts of Japan. And Yorit himself, he also comes from a farming family. So we have that in common as well. And we have worked together for a very, very long time in Slow Food Youth Network. And we've come this place to talk about youth empowerment. So I'm excited. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, everybody. I am Jorrit Kiewik. I am a young dairy farmer from the Netherlands. I am currently living in Italy for the work I do with Slow Food. And yeah, like Megumi said, I grew up at a small-scale dairy farm in the eastern part of the Netherlands. It is small-scale in a world where agriculture is industrializing and where the generation before me, my parents, had to make the choice if they want to get bigger or maybe do something different. And their decision when I was a small child had a massive impact on the life that I'm living right now, but also on the values that they gifted to me. They decided not to join the rat race of industrialization, but they decided to add value to the place that they were taking care of. So rather than keeping more animals, produce more milk, become more anonymous, they invited more people to be part of the farm, to take care of the farm, to spend their days taking care of our animals, our land. And these people are people with a disability. They have their daycare in our farm, and this was an opportunity for us to really escape from like the big agriculture, which has a massive impact on our society. And while I was growing up, I studied agricultural entrepreneurship. And during my bachelor studies, one of the things that would always arise is that while studying entrepreneurship, something that you do is really speaking with your peers and discussing like, okay, how is your company doing? Because in the end, a farm is a place where passion comes together. It's a place where you produce food, where you often live with your family, where you produce and nurture the society around you. But in the end, it's also a business. Like we discussed before in the previous panels, in the end, there needs to be a business model that makes sure that farmers have a fair salary, where it shows that they do have a good opportunity. And during my education, we were putting next to each other these bookkeeping records, like these annual reports of financial results. And I would always see that the people who worked so hard, were so passionate about farming and having very big farms, basically there were no owners. They were not the owners of their places, because in the end the bank was. The financial institution would own what they did, and they would decide what the direction of what our society was. And this was something that kind of hurt me. And in that sense, I started working into food sustainability. I started investigating and looking into what sustainable food systems are really looking like, because the university where I was studying, like the first moderator this morning said, was really focused on industrial agriculture. I saw that things needed to go different. So I started engaging further throughout the food chain. So not just putting my energy on everything that would happen within the food system or within the farm and its small little place in the food system, but then really looking what do consumers have to do with the business models of farms, and basically bringing these narratives together. While I was working on that, I had the amazing experience to be invited by Slow Foods to Milan, where in 2015 there was the World Expo, and the World Expo was themed feeding the planet. And what you would see there were these massive corporations like Nestle, but also McDonald's, Ferrero, big multinationals who would claim that they would be feeding the planet. However, Slow Foods, very rightfully so, understood that one very important actor of the food chain was missing, and this was the actual farmers. So they gathered 2,500 young farmers to Milan. I'm pretty sure Megumi was there as well. We met there for the first time.
Yeah.
And I was very, very specialized in dairy, in the dairy industry. I knew a lot about how to produce milk and how to get a lot of grass and from our land. But I thought that I would know more about the food system, and I spoke with this coffee farmer who was invited as well. And even though I drank so much coffee at the time, like until unhealthy levels, I didn't know what the coffee chain was like. I didn't know what this reality was. And that was a moment where I truly fell in love with the slow food movement and also joined it. This was in 2015. In 2016, I got asked to become the director of Slow Food Youth Network in the Netherlands. And basically that's where our story, our pathway into this wonderful movement started. And to just give you a bit of an overview, if we speak about Slow Food Youth Network, what is that actually? We call it SWIN, the abbreviation of Slow Food Youth Network. It is launched over 15 years ago in order to attract more young people in a world of slow food, so in a world of good, clean, and fair food for everybody. We have specific campaigns and educational programs that are really targeting young individuals that are engaged in the food system, either on a professional level, either studying, maybe like you are, or in a way of passion, because every single one of us, luckily, has the opportunity to eat multiple times a day and is making an impact on our food system. So currently, I'm leading the Slow Food Youth Network. I'm their executive director. And indeed part of the board of directors of Slow Food International. And SWIN currently is having active communities in over 100 countries all over the world, with 10,000 of activists who, like you, are interested in the food system, but really are aiming to make a massive disruption in the food system that we're currently facing. We love campaigning. We love being out there. We love to address we love to address the issues that our food system is facing, but at the same time, the thing that I really appreciate about SWIN and slow food in general is that we're always constructive. So we put the finger at where the problem in our food system is, but also we come up with solutions. And if it's not something that we can point out straight away, we start being the solution ourselves. So a lot of our people in our network are young entrepreneurs, they're farmers, they're people also part of bigger organizations in the food system. And like I mentioned, we love campaigning. We can be radical, but we're always constructive. And different actions vary from dumping potatoes on big squares where people would pass by, and these potatoes, they would be thrown away because this was, for example, during the COVID period, where in the Netherlands, people love to eat French fries. There's a massive market for it, but at that period, all the restaurants were closed. So all the farmers were stuck with these potatoes. So we would dump them in different cities, and we would take attention for it, ask people to come speak with the farmer, but also take some of the potatoes, often very cheap. But first of all, the farmer didn't have to throw it away. And second of all, they even earned more by the donations that they would get directly from the consumer than what they would have gotten if they would have sold them to the retailers. But also we would make campaigns in order to promote veggies. So this was a campaign we did in order to promote the broccoli, and we utilized the marketing slogans of a big shoe and fashion brand, which loves to brand the "Just Do It" slogan. And I think the B is king. Everyone knows that, of course, the B stands for broccoli, and this is something that's we really like to kind of address in some sort of underground actions. Funny examples, and these posters we would hang in different bus stops all over the place, really to make people question the current food system. We would also be organizing food film festivals, gathering thousands of people while showcasing documentaries, movies on our current food system, serving food, organizing workshops, and always with the goal to have people like you, people interested in the food system, but to educate them a bit more and make them wonder what's the story behind the food on our plate. Then we also have plenty of really educational programs. So, for example, we have our Svin Academy. I'll later dive a bit deeper into that. We have Svin Food Pioneers, which is a network of young food entrepreneurs, which helps each other, which supports each other, which creates bonds together and collaborations in order to have a bigger voice within the food system, which gives them more accessibility to markets, to places where they can sell their produce, but also to better understand how to deal with the big players in the food system. We have our own podcast, Slow Food, the podcast. I would highly recommend you to find it on your favorite podcast app. Slow Food, the podcast is Slow Food's journey into a more sustainable lifestyle, in which we educate people on a slow lifestyle by really listening to our peers, what they do and what small steps they take in order to make a better a more sustainable household, basically, and a more sustainable life. Then currently we're hosting the Planting the Future campaign, which Nina this morning was speaking about it, how we should change our diets in order to truly have food security all over the globe. And one of the main actions that we can take is eating more plant-rich. And honestly, I'm very happy. This is my first time in Turkey, but the amount of legumes that I'm eating here is fabulous. I'm so excited. But within the Planting the Future campaign, we are educating people about different phases about the food system. You can join our channel via the Slow Food International Instagram page. There's a specific channel where we discuss a variety of topics during this spring. Currently, we're discussing and educating people on the issues of modern slavery, which is something that's rather new. And later we'll also define what disco soups are. This is where we bring loads of people together, but I will not spoil that right now. I'll get back to that later because we have plenty of nice stories on that. And something that I want to share now with you is the fact that I guess maybe I should ask a question. Is there any one of you worried about our future? If you are, you can raise your hand. I am. I see very few. I see that there's a lot of people who are really bright futured. I'm very happy for that. But there's a lot of youth which is very worried about our future. We do see that the climate crisis is becoming irreversible, is having a great impact on our daily lives. Droughts are getting closer. We have more floods. We see that the temperature in general is getting higher. We see that there's different kind of produce. Everywhere we see the impacts and the signs of the climate crisis coming closer. They're creeping up to us. And this is the result of a generation before us who has been living after, basically post-World War II, who have lived in a great period of time in which economics have been very important, which economies have been developing very well. But at the same time, while developing all these businesses, there was very little attention for the environment that we live in, the planet that we all share. And a lot of youth are feeling helpless. A lot of youth are unsure where to start or whether their actions matter, and that there's a need for system change, and that individual actions that you and I can take are not making such an impact. And I would argue that the contrary is true. Yes, we definitely need system change, but that change starts from the choices that we make on a daily level, and our group, let's say like that, or movement of people who are consciously living but also taking care of our planet is growing every single day. It's the fastest growing movement on the globe, and that's something that should not be underestimated. And then our role as being Svin is to create spaces where even small actions feel meaningful, and are getting visible. So we believe that empowerment for youth really starts from not being alone. And I'm curious also from Megumi to hear, like, what is it that's really binding us in that? What are the values that we share?
So, like Jorrit said, a lot of young people are now like feeling really helpless. But at the same time, I want to look at something hopeful. That according to the data, Goldman Sachs survey, the younger generation, like millennials, like we are millennials, and maybe the students behind, they are Gen Z. So that generation, millennials and Gen Z, their values are changing from the former generation. So the former generation would put more value on like material possession, and like having a home, having a car, owning something, possessing something. But rather, millennials and Gen Z are looking more at the value of experience, value of self-respect, and how to contribute to the society. So they care less about owning things and more about feeling like they are making a difference. They are contributing to the society. They want to pay more money on making experience or making somebody's life better. So we're not just. So that's why Slow Food Youth Network and things like our educational programs are resonating millennials and Gen Z. So rather than educating older generation, sharing information and telling our message to millennials and Gen Z, we feel like it's working better. So I think that's the data supporting the Slow Food Youth Network's philosophy.
Yeah, and there's something. There's something that I see coming from these educational programs that we're carrying out. So before I mentioned the Academy, which is a really in-depth program, but also Planting the Future, also the podcast, are all small little tickles that help people to question the food system that we're all part of. And me coming from the Netherlands, I see a lot of youth taking responsibility in their own hands. I see a lot of people who are really stepping up, taking the responsibility, and they're becoming youth leaders. I see that on a global level, but I do know, me being from the Netherlands, I'm very privileged. I'm coming from a very democratic, very flat society. Remember, I was two months into my office, and the Minister of Agriculture, I was 24 at the time. The Minister of Agriculture called me and asked, like, would you like to pass by? I would love to hear your story. I would love to hear what your generation thinks, how I should make advice. And this is something that I do not take for granted, but it does inspire me, because I believe that, yes, it is that democracy is there in the Netherlands. It's there from my experience in the European Union. But I also see opportunities for youth in different continents in order to get more active. In a more recent storyline, I've been working very actively in Central Asia to mobilize youth around the thematics of food, water, and energy, and bring them together and get involved into policy making and in engaging with policies. And this is something that slowly is growing also in other parts of the world. And this is something where we as youth also should feel like, okay, we are in charge and we can be in charge. And again, I would like to show some examples that we've been carrying out over the past few years. And the photo that you've seen here, you probably wonder why there's a girl with a big fish in her hand on the screen. But this is actually a still from a big campaign that we've been doing in order to require the government to make food education in primary schools compulsory for every single child. Because because we see that children are growing up knowing less and less about food and where it's coming from. And this is not the fault of the children. It's often the fault, unfortunately, of the parents who don't know either. So we made this big campaign in order to ask the government to make this obligatory, to make it compulsory for every child to be actively educated on what food is, how it's being grown, and how to work with it. And what you would see after that is that these children would get home, and they, rather than the parents educating the children would start educating the parents. The result of this campaign, just to show how youth can make impact, the result of this campaign was that there's close to 7 million euros being invested in food education. And food education is being implemented more and more in different schools. We've been doing different actions around that. This is a campaign that we did in order to get more people to start voting in front of with their forks, because we believe that every consumption, every piece of food that you put in your mouth has an impact on the food chain in front of it. And what we did here in different cities all over Europe was, at one night we would go to supermarkets, we would go to normal markets, and we would reverse graffiti photo of your fork on the floor. Which was a hilarious night, by the way. I can highly recommend you to go out with your friends and start writing these things on the floor, which is, again, you clean the floor. So that's why it shows up. And we created a big campaign behind it. If you would go to the website, you would end up like, okay, what's voting with your fork, how to educate. And it was a great moment to get involved and reach a lot of people. Then another campaign we've been working on more on a European level was Vote This Cap Down. This was in the This was a big online campaign so CAP stands for the Common Agricultural Policy, and this is the biggest agricultural policy in Europe, which is basically approximately 40%, so 40, of our European budget is spent on agriculture. And at that point, the cap was terrible. It was really not fit for what was needed. And we asked thousands and thousands of individuals to publish these photos on social media, tagging their respective people in parliament, and this created a huge buzz in the parliament. Unfortunately, it still got through, but the amount of response that we got from members of parliament was tremendous. In this case, we collaborated with Fridays for Future, the movement with Greta Thunberg. So we had thousands and thousands of people publishing Vote This Cap Down. And I don't know if I have another photo. No, actually not. Sorry. This is a bit of a spoiler for what's to come. Again, getting more on an international level, I do really realize that I am very privileged that I cannot take the liberty to advocate for different food policies and for a better lifestyle for granted. But we also see that every country is different and youth involvement is different everywhere, all over the globe. And also within our network, you see that different individuals, based on their culture, also take activism in a different way. We do need to get to action, though, and we do need to be active. And for that, I would like to ask Megumi to give again some data on like what is the current status quo in Japan, and how does this reflect, because it is actually a reflection on what's happening on a global level.
Yeah, so I'm going to share a situation of Japan a little bit, which I believe resonates with you as well. Japan is one of the very extreme cases, but Japanese society is extremely aging. So this data said 28% of the whole population is over 65 years old. And unbelievably, the farmers' population, out of the average age for the farmer in Japan, Please guess. What do you think is the average age of the farmer? 70. Oh, you went pretty extreme, but you're actually pretty close. 62. How is it in Turkey? 59. It's much better than Japan. So the average age of a farmer is 67 plus. It's getting even older now, and the depopulation of the rural areas on the right side of the slide in 2025, the orange parts have more than 30% of more than 65 years old people in the whole population. So as you can see, it's mostly orange in rural parts of Japan. And why is that? I think it's the trend all over the world. Japan is the extremer side, but it's happening all over the world. So the youth is migrating to the cities, urban area to look for a better life, look for a better job. And the rural parts of Japan, the main part of the business is agriculture or fishery, but there's no successor of the agriculture or fishery. So the average age of farmers and fishermen are going up, and young people are not really successing the business, and they are going into the urban side of the country and find a job that's not farming or fishery, simply because it's not paying well. But you know, in slow food, we have many cool and great role models who are pursuing their career in agriculture or fishery, finding alternative way to do the farming, fishing, and actually finding a good business model for them to pay well. So we want to utilize this network also from the other countries. So if you try to do things, if you try to find a good way to learn what's going on in the food system within Japan, within the rural area, you don't have the right community, you don't find the right person to learn from. But finding out that there are peers all around the world who are feeling the same sense of crisis and eager to learn, that will empower the younger generation, especially in the rural parts of the country. So what SFIN is doing in Europe is powerful, it's really impactful, and it's very active. And I would say the other parts of the world, SFIN is not so active yet, but seeing something like that in Europe will empower the young people in the other parts of the world, and things young people are doing in other parts of the world will also empower back the younger generation in Europe, I believe. So that's why, like, it's really urgent. So when we started off as Slow Food Youth Network, we were already feeling really the urgency. We don't have time to empower the youth. We have to really empower the farmer. We want to have the youth feel like the farmers and fishers are cool. But now we are into 2025. We are even more urgent. We really have no time. It's not the future, it's about now. So the empowerment, the youth, and fostering young leadership is the most important topic ever.
And I think also when we started this journey, like the people in the food system who were truly celebrated were the most VIPs of the food system would always be the chefs. And I think we both love a good cook. We love eating well and seeing the art of gastronomy. But then, yeah, basically, I think in our time frame also things changed. That we really position the farmer as the rock star of the food system. Like farmers are literally so cool, and it also makes me proud. Growing up at a farm, you're married to a farmer. I remember when I was younger, it was not always easy to come from a farm. There's a lot of social pressure. Your friends from more urbanized areas feel like, okay, yeah, you're maybe a bit smelly because you just left home and you passed by the barn where there were some cows, that's something that hurted me a lot. But also I see now, reflecting on that, it's really identified this huge split that's there between urban areas and rural areas, and this is exactly what you're describing right now. And I'm also to get more of these people together, to get more of the food chain together, more youth together. I'm also actually very curious if you would like to introduce what Disco Soup basically is. This is a campaign that really brings together so many people, and you're very experienced in that.
Yeah, actually, Disco Soup is the event that I got into slow food. So when I was in college, I started to feel like I was helpless, like you said. I was one of those young people back then. I wanted to become a chef, actually, because it's sexy.
Exactly. There you go.
But I didn't have any knowledge. I just liked cooking. But then the more I spent time in the kitchen, the more I realized the food system is broken. And the more I realized I was very, very ignorant about it. And I started horrible that I was okay with that up until then. But I started learning, but then I didn't know what to do because the scale of the problems are too big. The number of problems are too big. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know who to ask. Then coincidentally, one of the slow food activists came to my college to talk about slow food movement. And I was like, this is it. There are so many other people in the world who are worried just like I am. And it's not like they have this solution to solve all the problems, but they have found their little solutions on the ground in their community. Each one is very small, maybe, but with this as a movement, with this becoming point to line to a shape, and then movement, it's a big wave. And I immediately talked to the person who came to the college, and he said, why not join the youth network because you're young? And that time, Disco Soup was just about to start in Germany. So Disco Soup is basically an initiative about food waste. It started in 2012. 13, around that time in Germany, a group of young people started to look at the problem of food waste. So there are so many food waste in the food supply chain, whether in the farmland, whether in the distribution, the retail, in the home. But they felt like they needed to bring this problem up and put spotlight on it and bring attention to it. So what they did is to rescue the food waste from the supply chain and collect it and put the dance music on. And in public, they start cooking. They start chopping the vegetables and then make a big soup and distribute to it the people walking along the street and randomly for free. And they are curious about the soup, right? It's tasty, it's edible, and they start to talk to them. Hey, this was about to be discarded. So the people realize, okay, there is food waste problem. So many of the young people around the world got inspired by this idea, and they started to name it disco soup because there's disco music with it. What's important is it's fun, it's accessible to everybody, and it's visible. So disco soup happened so many times around the world. This was one in the Netherlands.
Yeah, because it started growing, and this movement was created in a certain way that it really truly blew up. With disco soups, which at the end were literally gathering 15,000 people per edition. Like, just repeating 15,000 is like very many. I was surprised when I was seeing these numbers popping up, and I've been to the original place in Germany because it's part of a counter protest against the agro industry called Wir haben es satt, which means we are fed up with it. And there's thousands of people coming every single year, and in the basically in this photo that you see, this is in one of the original points. Berlin is very famous for its raving subculture with a lot of dancing going on, a lot of parties, and they simply took that and then they would blend it in literally with food waste, and you would see people going all hard into the music, and then next to them food would be chopped, and people would be attracted by the music. They would come in and they would just start chopping the veggies, and they were asking, but why are we chopping veggies? And our volunteers would simply explain, like, yeah, this would have been wasted. And then they taste it and they're like, but this is the best soup I've ever had. And this is such a simple intervention that that you can do, and it really grew out to a global movement. And I think Megumi, this was a photo of the first disco soup in Japan, I think.
Yeah. So we did one of the first disco soups in Japan, in Tokyo, in one of the very famous farmers market in the central part of Tokyo. And we collected discarded vegetables, like not good looking vegetables from the farmer's stand or friend from the previous day. And we started to cook with this giant pot and with random people. So this guy in the middle who's wearing the white t-shirt, he's actually a 3 Michelin star restaurant chef who shops at the farmer's market every weekend. We never asked him to cook, but he randomly joined and started to, season the soup, and the soup was actually really, really tasty thanks to him. And also in the farmers market there used to be often fashion events, like vintage fashion events. So there were people who are joining the event without really much interested in food. So we would talk to them and share them with the information about food waste. So at that time, 1/3 of the food produced in Japan went to waste. So they were shocked to hear that number. Yeah, so we at that time in 2014 or 15, we would do disco soup every month in Tokyo.
And then after we met for the first time in 2015 in Milan.
In Milan, yeah.
We met a year after in Turin. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what we did after?
Yeah, so in Turin, one of the youth members in Brazil, he suggested to organize World Disco Soup Day. So disco soup was very spread around the world. Many groups were doing disco soup. So there's this big network until then, and the guy suggested to have a World Disco Soup Day where all around the world on the same day, the groups are organizing disco soup locally. And it's become an annual event ever since. So from 2017, and it's organized every year in the last weekend of April. And the fun fact is that we were in the first task force group of the World Disco Soup Day back in 2017. We were much younger.
We were very young, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I think the cool thing about also this experience, you have to imagine we literally just hopped on the train of slow food. We got in touch with this network. We had this idea of like this crazy guy from Brazil here.
Yeah.
You cannot see him. This is Caio. Amazing personality, and he said like, I did this day in Brazil. Why don't do it on a global level? And we're all like, this might be a very stupid idea. And then someone else said like, yeah, very stupid, but it's very cool if we can pull it off. So basically, we got this group of people together.
So we were if we were at this age at this time, we would say, where's the budget for that?
Exactly.
You know, where's the funding for that? Where's the sponsor for that?
There was no budget.
Like, where's the time for that? But we didn't have that question back then. Without any funding, without any budget, without any support from anybody. We just wanted to do it, so we did.
Exactly.
And it was fun.
It was definitely fun. And I have to say, sometimes it was tough. It took us half a year, and every Saturday we had these calls. You can see I'm here at the bottom, and you see a corner that I'm in a train because I would be traveling. Like, it was just half days. We were just speaking like how to organize the event. Like, how do we make sure that it's food safe? How do we make sure that we get press attention? How do we do this? How do we do that? We just gathered information and we worked this out. And remember, the very first edition that we did was over 100 disco soups globally in more than 50 countries. We got international press attention. People were speaking about this youth movement of slow food, who was just pulling out dancing parties in order to address food waste. And we would have all these, back then there was still Skype, as you can see.
Skype, yeah.
Rest in peace. And it's something that was just so beautiful to do with this no budget, but just efficient. And it showed me actually the potential of creating something from the potential that slow food had. And from there, also we started fundraising. I started fundraising in order to coordinate this network more actively. And based on this experience, I was able to launch the International Slow Food Youth Network office, coordinating all these people year after year. Because if these people can do it on a voluntary basis, and we can manage this kind of impact on a voluntary basis, imagine when we have someone working. So that came from there. And indeed, we're now heading next year. I don't know the final Saturday of April. I don't know what the date will be. We'll be heading to our 10th edition. We've saved over 100,000 kilograms of food with no marketing. And we managed to always do editions, even in the COVID period where we couldn't organize big events, but we would ask our network to not only harvest and save food from being wasted, but we asked them to speak with the elderly of their communities. We asked them to harvest the recipes that were there in place in order to preserve food from being wasted. And we launched the Disco Soup Cookbook, which is co-created with activists from all over the world, with again 100 recipes which fight food waste, from literally utilizing the banana peels to what to do with your leftover bread and what to do with the offcuts of different animals. And this is something that was a great educational program. But also a great way to gather all this content, because in the end, the thing that we as a generation need to do is keep knowledge alive. We need to educate each other, and we need to trigger our own interest to do something better. And I think, Megumi, you have an amazing activity going on in Japan, which is also really educating the youth. Do you want to say something
before
about that?
diving into that, I what I feel about Disco Soup also is that Disco Soup is a great tool as well. It's about food waste, but it's not only about food waste per se, because when you want to address the topic of food waste, you also want to study about food production, distribution, retail, consumption, and the political, diplomatic situation of food system. So you need to dive into those points in food supply chain. So you get to study so much when you talk about food waste. Also, Disco Soup is amazing that it's very tangible action for young people. So people like myself, I used to feel very helpless and hopeless and didn't know what to do. If Disco Soup is there, they can take an action. It's easier for them to do it rather than coming up with something new to do. So it's a great tool for a young generation to actually step up and move. So Disco Soup was really good for me personally, but it's also a good tool for everybody in the younger generation.
That's great.
Yeah.
I do see that the time is short, so I would maybe rush through the final points that we would like to share with all of you before we go maybe to also some questions.
Thank you both, really. What you do in Slow Food Yacht Network is really inspiring and passionate. I felt your passion individually, and you made me feel the urgency. So from now on, I think, Sinan Hocam, we should be thinking on really founding our Slow Food Yacht Network in Cappadocia, and maybe within time, grow it throughout all our country. But do you have any practical ways to show our young people just to contribute this movement from now on and be part of your mission?
Yeah, so there's a variety of things that you can do, and then I would also love to highlight some best practices. Maybe you have an example also from the network, what people have been doing in the past. First of all, I do think that it's very important that we speak with each other on what we eat, that we question our daily habits, and that we question why we eat what we eat, that we question the produce that we buy, and think that we don't just look into the marketing, but that we turn the package around, think like, okay, what is it that we're eating? Where is it being produced? Is it produced in a way that is, in the end, good for me? Is it nutritious? Is it tasty? Is it produced in a way that is clean for the planet, so that it's not harming animals? If you're eating animals, that they're treated with the much possible respect. Then that it's fair, that people fell victim to in the worst instance slavery in the food chain, but also in any case did the producer get a good fee? Did it get a good price for the produce and the labor that it put out? That's something super important, and then always challenge yourself to find also the right ways to make this sustainable food accessible. Because before we had this wonderful panel on farmers markets, and what's the first thing that always gets back when you speak about slow food? People say, it's not accessible, it's too expensive, I cannot reach it, I don't have time for it. And if you actually look into the prices, Marta said this morning in another panel discussion, yes, maybe the first price on your bill, if you buy via conventional streams or supermarkets, it will be more expensive, but you will pay less in a later stage of your life on your health, on wealth-related diseases, unfortunately. But then if you go really straight to the farmer, if you follow the farmers markets that also Richard was speaking about, you will see that the products that are actually in season, that are unpackaged, that are unprocessed, they are actually super cheap. And it's not going to hurt your wallet when you buy the produce that's grown locally, that's grown with respect, and where you pay directly the farmer rather than the person who shipped it from one place to the other, the person who maybe puts it in a plastic bag, the person who then sells it to a supermarket, then the supermarket who wants to make at least 50 or to 100% profit on that. If you find it straight from the farmer, all that margin can go straight to the farmer, and you share that middle ground. So that's something that definitely everyone can do. And also just educate yourself. Try to watch tonight what you have on your plate and see how it's being produced. And then start following us on for example, social media. Start having a listen to Slow Food, the podcast. Join the Planting the Future campaign. And then if you're getting more involved, if you do more, you can also professionally get involved. And I just want to give the floor also to Megumi, because you have an amazing example of that. I will quickly click through to that. That's here, this one.
Yeah, actually, one of the activists, we worked together for Disco Soup back in the day. He actually started this company. It's in Europe. It's famous in Too Good To Go. Do you know of it? So it's an app. It's a service to become a middleman between the restaurant or bakeries or hotel or any food serving facilities and consumers. So whenever they have this like surplus of food remaining at the end of the day, they can put the information up on the app, and the consumers can access to it and choose to buy it, choose to rescue it with a little bit cheaper price. And I'm really proud that one of the Sfin activists became the practitioner in the society like this. So Sfin is kind of an incubation system. It functions as an incubation system as well. So individually speaking, like Jorrit said, pay attention to what you are eating, even if it's not ideal food. Pay attention to what you are actually putting in your mouth. And on a group level, on a community level, get together. And if you find it difficult to come up with something from zero, you can utilize like tool like Disco Soup, like joining the Planting the Future campaign and make a peer-to-peer group in your local community, or join Terra Madre in Italy once in 2 years and find international peers there, or start Slow Food Youth Network community on the local level.
Yeah, it all starts with just questioning what you do. And
Yeah.
also, like today or tomorrow, what you're eating. If you're having a dinner all together, ask yourself, like, do I need to add this to the dinner? Or, for example, when it comes to meat consumption, is a very easy thing to discuss, and it's a very, very beautiful thing to dive into. Like, often we have these dishes where there's maybe a little bit of meat inside, and there's no problem with eating meat. Let that be clear. The only issue is that currently in our food system, we're eating 80% of our proteins that we're consuming is coming from animal proteins on a global level, which is incredible. That's way too much. And just 20% of our proteins is coming from plants, and that should swap over. So let's see together also how we can reduce, like, do we need this part in this dish? And then there's different arguments that you can make. It can be part of a culture and a recipe that you want to protect. And I think that's very, very important. But in some ways, things can also evolve, and you can see, maybe we can experiment a bit with this. So just these first questions are a starting point of becoming a full food activist.
Thanks so much. Maybe we'd love to hear from our audience. Are there any questions or comments you want to share with us? So thank you all for being with us today, and really a heartfelt thanks to you, really, our guests. And I hope today's seminar leaves each of us with a renewed sense of agency and a clearer path, actually, to contribute to your mission and this global moment. And I'm looking forward to continue this conversation in future events with you. Okay, thank you all, and
Thank you so much.
have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks. write to Slow Food Downscore International, write to @Slow Food Youth Network, and we'll get back to you. And yeah, my question to you is really, let's see how we can make a Slow Food Youth Network or a slow food community here on campus. I'd love to get all of you involved, and I'd love to see what we can do in order to bring you as youth together in order to make the local food system here more sustainable. Thank you.